Well, welcome to a chat with Projective and Object Matrix. With me today is Derek Barrilleaux. How would you say it, Derek? I'd probably mess it up already.
Yeah, you did a little bit. It's okay, though. Everyone does. It's Barrilleaux.
And whereabouts are you today, mate?
Well, I'm sitting at this lovely pub across the street from you here in Munich.
It's true. In fact, you're right in front of me. I don't know why I asked such a stupid question.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Well, we're obviously both of us are sat in sunny Wales through the magic of a special COVID-free flight to Cardiff. You managed to come over and share a beer with me. And the good thing is, I see you brought along your own beer to the pub, which is normally frowned upon in Wales.
Yeah. It's self-service over there, right?
Like, no, actually, no, we're being served. Thank you very much. Oh, you want cash as well? Okay, there you go. Thank you. Cheers. Yucky da, as we say in Wales. Well, how do we say it in German?
Prost.
Prost. There you go. So,
by the way, my daughter, who is 16 months old, can actually Prost. She can't say dada yet.
She's got her priorities right. That's the important thing. We're here to talk about a lot of things, really. We haven't caught up in person in such a long time. And I guess everyone is talking about remote working, cloudy things, hybrid, on-prem. So it'd be great to just sort of a catch up on that.
Yeah, so it's funny. I mean, we've had conversations with a lot of our customers over the last, since before the pandemic, really, but when the pandemic happened, about how people were getting, remote production to happen, and we saw these, spectrum of things that people were trying to do, from like really, unsophisticated things like physically putting stuff on a hard drive and currying it to couriering it to.
That's staying in, by the way. Carry
on. But yeah, sending it by mail to their team, all the way up to trying like file transfer or cloud-based services, and what we found was that each one of these things had their different pros and cons, but what a lot of people weren't thinking about was you need to build a workflow around it. It's not good enough just to physically get content somewhere. You need to have a workflow.
Yeah, I echo your experience. We've seen, even yesterday we were having a conversation with people who are shooting and working in 4K and shipping drives around, right? Yeah. Because, the volume of content means that it's just easier because of the technology stack they don't have to do that today. And it's, there's obviously huge security risks around that. There's just the wastefulness of it, not understanding what you've got, where it is.
The time it takes physically to get stuff, and then the poor sap who's over there trying to upload multiple terabyte projects onto a drive and then shipping it somewhere. To be honest, like when I first heard it, we had a good laugh about it, and then as I started to hear more and more customers were just doing that, I kind of realized, hey, they did it because it was available and it was there and they didn't have to change anything. But then, I don't know if you guys have found the same thing, once things have started to kind of slow down from a pandemic perspective, and now you're trying to be flexible and work offsite and onsite kind of in tandem. And the amount of content being produced has exploded as well, because you've got all of that stuff that that got paused during the pandemic. Now we're finding a lot of people are really taking a hard look at our Skies infrastructure for that, because they just need to be more efficient in how they're working remotely now.
Yeah, and luckily or gladly or hopefully, as we come out and as we transition out, there's a lot of talk being talked about hybrid working, and not in the sense of storage or workflow engines, but in terms of how we work, right? And so people at home, people in the office, and I think that's the real challenge, because people in the office are going to expect a local office performance experience that they had before, not then relying on a cloud-based service to pull data back for them. Whereas people outside the office are going to expect that data to be available, whether they're VPNing in or using a cloud service. So I think the challenges are only going to get bigger, actually, in terms of managing access, managing projects, workflows, content, you name it.
Did you find that as you've been talking to customers over the last 12 months, and now that things are changing, are the people you're talking to struggling just with adapting to change or being able to make changes? Because that's one of the things that we've found people struggling with.
I think it depends on the company, right? I think there are probably a bunch of people who were on the road to enabling staff to work from anywhere, to self-serve content. You talk to people who are still heavily reliant on LTO technology. So if you then got someone working from home, a producer needs content from the archive, someone's got to go in and get that, right, and put it into a drive and make it available. And so a bunch of those customers really struggled because there's a bottleneck for producers to get access to content because it was stuck on a shelf or it was the fifth in the queue. Whereas other customers who've moved away from LTO or other even prospects, they may have already embraced some form of disk-based archive or cloud-based archive, in which case they had the capability to give people access remotely from whatever to everything. And so that ability to self-serve, we certainly saw there was almost like two camps. The people who had the technology or on the road to the technology probably could access their data more frequently than the people who were maybe planning change in the next 5 or 10 years. And
I like that self-serve, by the way. That's good.
Well, yeah, I've noticed you haven't self-served very much, by the way. You'd be thrown out of this Welsh pub with your slowness.
Continuity errors coming up. Here we go. But yes, so what I was saying was that comment about self-serve. I like that as it pertains to archival. We, in our marketing, we've tried to talk about this concept of like editor-driven archival for that reason. Because I remember my old days when I used to sell big tape libraries and archive solutions at Quantum, I would always get the question like from the editors, okay, well, how am I going to find file m23689.mov in the archive? And I didn't have a good answer to that question. And so, really, I didn't really understand it, to be honest, until I, came to Projective and started talking about how, with Strawberry, how editors can just, archive themselves or retrieve themselves entire projects, which can be a lot more useful than trying to retrieve individual assets, because you may want to work and do some revision. You need everything associated with that project.
Yeah, obviously metadata has made a big impact on the market in the last 5-10 years. The old, this is for you, Steve Sharman, if you can't find it, you don't have it. Ting.
Yeah.
So metadata, asset management, media workflows, media management, that's all made a big impact. But ultimately, it depends on the underlying technology, whether you can access it or not.
Yep.
And as people, and what we've also seen, obviously, is the big push to the cloud. And I think before the P word, the pandemic word, people were having sensible conversations about where cloud infrastructure made perfect sense and where maybe it was a great complementary solution to what people have on-prem or in other services. And I think that the last 18 months saw, a bunch of people just rushing in, finding, no, let's just go cloud. And actually, the conversations we're having with many, many people are about how that hasn't been as easy an experience as they'd imagined, right? It's not just a case of, I'm in the cloud now, everything works. They've had to hire DevOps services. They've had to ensure that they've got a real understanding of the budget flexibility that can happen when you embrace the cloud, from egress fees or, spinning up elastic services. And I think that may have been an eye-opener for a number of people as to understanding, well, the cloud just doesn't mean the three big players.
Yeah.
And there are many flavors of cloud that can be sort of maybe more tiered to a media and entertainment workflow than just a big bucket that costs you whenever you want to take your data out. So I don't know if you've seen any of that sort of commentary or any sort of experience chatting with people about that.
That totally jives with what we're seeing. So, a lot of, we're coming at it more from the actual production side. We're seeing people trying to put entire productions in the cloud with the promise that they could put everything in the cloud. They don't have to worry about on-premise anymore. Cloud has been pitched as this kind of panacea for all of your kind of on-premise issues around, fallibility of the on-premise hardware to having to buy additional hardware or expand, running out of space, things like that. The problem is if you're working on premise in a chaotic way, the typical response is, okay, we'll just buy more storage, right?
Yeah.
And then, okay, you're having to buy more storage quicker than you thought you did, but it's manageable. Now, if you go to the cloud and you work in a messy, chaotic way, you've now opened up the biggest the biggest pool of storage and compute known to man, and you're paying that it can basically scale in an unlimited fashion, and you're going to turn your editors over to that bucket and tell them use it. You're going to pay a lot of money. So it's one of the things that, especially in a cloud context, a lot of customers have turned to Strawberry for their production as they're trying to look to the cloud because they realize they got to get their hands around that.
Yeah, and we launched our cloud service in the UK 2 years ago, and people have been coming to us from the big three because they get a more curated experience. They get a more, almost like a concierged journey to the cloud, where we help them with connectivity, we help with the workflows. So it's not just here's your bucket, off you go. There's a real sort of team behind it of people who understand media workflows, and I think that is starting to make a difference in that people are, in previous on-prem instances, they would have had a reseller and an SI that really helped them with their workflows and support it. And, moving to the cloud, they expect that same experience, many do. And so that's where companies like ours and Projective, I think, do add value in that sort of cloud space. So here's here's a statement for you, or a question rather.
Okay.
Is on-prem dead?
No. Here's an answer for you. No. Man, I always love the people, like, it makes for great marketing to say X, Y, Z is dead, right? And I remember, I'm positive you remember this.
I don't know. I've done it about LTO probably every month, but there you go.
but the thing is, I worked for a tape company when they were doing that back in 2002, right? So even if it is ultimately dead, it's going to be around for at least,
It's a long, slow death.
Exactly. So, and without getting too philosophical, I'll need a few more beers, but what is death really?
Yeah, that's way too much for a third of a pint of no alcohol beer. I'm not definitely I'm not getting into that one with you.
But no, I think I think people need to realize, and I think people generally do realize this, that it's you pick the right tool for the right job, and on-premise has its advantages. Obviously, having control over your people and what's happening on-premise, right? Obviously, the resources that you can provide on-premise are different. But the ubiquity of cloud is really important, and I'm going to stand on my soapbox here, but one of the things that we've done in our approach to cloud is to try and, for that reason, we've gone from more of a hybrid model with Skies, and that you get the best of both worlds, where you have the on-premise workflows that we are now giving you access to using the ubiquity of the cloud, so you can work anywhere, but it's off of your facility, so you're getting the best of both worlds. So
I do wonder how cyclical all this stuff is. Ultimately, we've known, and it's the reason our technology is built to support cloud services anyway. And our customers have had private clouds, if you like, on-prem for goodness knows how long. But so cloud is happening.
Yeah.
The commercial models will become more appropriate eventually. It may be that things become more expensive because actually this race to the bottom isn't healthy, isn't sustainable. We won't get into the taxation issues because I'll get told off for talking about the taxation issues. But
I need another beer.
Yeah, there you go. But in the meantime, there are companies who can't take advantage of cloud because they're not allowed to as part of their corporate governance. There are companies where it doesn't make sense because of the sheer size of the data and the workflows.
Yep. Yep.
But there are plenty more that want to. And so I think that we're actually in a space now where certainly offering hybrid deployment gives people that flexibility. So if they're thinking of moving to cloud, hybrid is a great stepping stone for them.
Yep.
Or if they're definitely in that cloud, but they want some, like a cache of workflow, a cache of archive that aged off into the cloud, then that's all incredibly possible as well today. So, in reality, I can see hybrid workflows being around with us for the next 5-10 years easily.
Definitely.
And yeah, absolutely, LTO is not dead. There you go, I said it. However, it's becoming less and less appropriate for, the on-demand workflows that we've seen ramp up this last 18 months. So, in reality, I can see, hybrid environments being around for the next 5 to 10 years easily.
I mean, to be honest with you, I think the hybrid cloud technology is actually kind of a next step. It's an evolution in the process because, people are going to, the facility isn't going to completely go away. People aren't going to completely, work from home all the time. There's going to be, that need to have a hybrid model. I think beyond that, to be perfectly honest.
The media space is an interesting space because it's such a small community and people rely on each other to help them do stuff. And I think that's where the transition to cloud has been a bit more difficult for people because, they're going out alone and trying that journey can be quite painful and expensive. And, we've had the horror stories of someone left a script pulling data back from their bucket and it cost them $40,000. And yes, they got some of that refunded because it was, a mistake. But those are the sorts of expensive errors that can happen. And I don't know any CFO at the moment that wants that unpredictability in their financials.
Definitely. And the unpredictability of a lot of the cloud service provider costs as well, right? So if you use some cloud services, maybe for instance for approvals or things like this, you end up having to pay for their storage as well, and you can't predict what those costs are going to be.
No.
So having that's another benefit to having in our case from having those approvals workflows built into the collection asset management tool. So memo to all CFOs who may be watching this.
Yeah, here you go. Both Derek and I are more than happy to have a conversation with you. Well, I believe there's a pub quiz, Derek.
Wait, is it pub quiz night?
It is. It's Thursday. It's always pub quiz night on a Thursday. We'll have to see what the questions are.
I'm far too sober for pub quiz.
Okay, let's start with a really easy one. How many actors portrayed James Bond?
Ooh.
Why? Right? Like it's what's his butt? The dude, Timothy Dalton, Roger Moore, Sean Connery. We got 5.
7.
7?
You're both quite close.
6.
Might be 6.
6.
Okay. Do we get half a point for that? No. Okay.
We'll make it up in the lightning round.
Right. Continental United States has 4 time zones. Can you name them?
Pacific, Mountain, Central, Eastern.
East, Central. Okay, I think Derek definitely beat me to that one.
For some reason.
Yeah, it's not like you saw the questions or anything, Derek, on the chalkboard in the pub.
It's not like I'm from Seattle.
No, exactly. There you go. It's not like you've got history.
Okay. Well, which 2 times Oscar-winning Welsh actor played American presidents Richard Nixon and John Quincy Adams?
That would be Anthony. Ooh, is it Anthony Hopkins? Or no?
Right.
Oh, there you go.
We have 1 point as well.
Anthony Hopkins is Welsh.
Of course he is.
I didn't know that.
There's a great story about Anthony Hopkins that when he played Hannibal Lecter, I don't know if it's true or not, or urban legend, that he came home to Port Talbot, which is the little town village he grew up in, and went into the cinema where Silence of the Lambs was playing. And apparently he went down the aisles, found a youngish looking person and sat next to them, tapped them on the shoulder. Went, can you imagine how you jump out of your seat if that happened? I don't think you'd ever live. You'd die instantly. That'd be it done.
Especially if you had the full-on slick back hair.
I don't think you'd even need that. Just no. I hope it's true. We'll have to ask. We'll have to ask Anthony.
Anyone watching this, feel free to post the verification in the comments.
Done.
All right.
Next question.
This one is really easy, so yeah, I think it's just a matter of who's going to be quickest. Name the coffee shop in the US sitcom Friends.
Perk.
Yeah.
Central Perk.
Central Perks.
Perk.
Man, get him there.
Okay. Who in the history of football received the fastest red card?
Must be Vinnie Jones.
Quite possibly. In this round, I'm not much use because I'm more the oval-shaped ball fan myself, which is of course rugby. Can we get any hints? Can we phone a friend? Is there?
He's Welsh.
Okay, so that's good. Possibly it is Vinnie Jones. Who knows? I have no idea. I'm afraid to say.
Welsh footballer Lee Todd in 2000. After the referee's opening whistle, the player commented, "F me, that was loud," and was sent off for the full leg. You can do the beep.
That's genius. Oh, well, if ever there's a way of getting sent off, that's brilliant. There you go.
Yeah.
Cheers to that.
Okay, last question. Not related to either Wales or Munich or the United States. What does the center of the galaxy smell like?
What does the center of the galaxy smell like? Well, we have a chocolate bar called the Galaxy. It's quite caramelly, so I'd say caramel.
Oh, that's the trick question. That was a trick question. I was going to go with Anthony Hopkins again and say like a fava beans and a nice Chianti.
There you go. And the answer is?
We got that one.
The answer is due to a chemical called ethyl formate in a big dust cloud at the center of the Milky Way. Basically, if ethyl formate is responsible for the flavor that we normally taste as raspberries.
That's great.
Okay, well that wasn't a quick trick question. Wow, that is something.
Mental note for our future version of this with the guys from NASA. Find something that smells like strawberries.
I think that our quiz host has a real future in extremely difficult but also amusing quizzes. I applaud our quiz host. Well done.
Hats off.
So we'll just call that a win for Wales. That's fine.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. There you go.
Well, Yakida, hey, listen, it's been lovely chatting with you. You know, we are all craving the real in-person stuff that will hopefully happen soon. We are hoping to be traveling towards the end of the year, so hopefully we can manage to bump into each other somewhere real.
Look forward to it, mate.
Yeah.
Look forward to it, man.
In the meantime, take care and speak to you soon.
Cheers.
Bye.